Hey, what if I told you that your Sunday sermon could reach 10 times the amount of people that it's currently reaching in your in-person audience? Hey, I'm Nick from Ministry Hacks, and today I'm going to show you my complete workflow of what I do after Sunday service is over. We're calling this series From Pulpit to Platform, and we're going to go through our entire workflow of how you can create an audio podcast, hosting that audio podcast, make a video podcast, create reels and shorts that get clicks and engagement and views and shares and all the things that you want and hope for, and as well as making a newsletter that's going to actually get opened by the people you send it to. So stay tuned for our 6-part series. Today is just part 1. So if you have any questions throughout this, I want to encourage you to, number 1, go to ministryhacks.com. There's a little contact form. Write your questions in there. Anything that you have question-wise, we want to help you. So check us out, ministryhacks.com. Now today we're going to start with the foundation that all of these things will go to, are going to build upon, and that's going to be the audio. Now some people will tell you that you need to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on expensive pro level gear. I'm here to tell you that you don't. You likely have what you need right where you're at. And if you have a Mac or Apple computer, you're off to a great start, because today I'm going to show you how to use a free software called GarageBand that comes installed on most Mac computers. If it's not, you can go to the App Store, download it for free, and it is a powerful resource that many people will overlook because it's free and they think that it's cheap. Therefore, their conclusion is it's not good. Now, I'm here to tell you again that thinking is wrong, and GarageBand is a powerful tool. I'm going to show you an example here. I'll show you a Rode Video Go 2 mic, and this is from a camera that's about 50 feet away from us. Here you go, check this out, give it a listen.
And that's a word for you and me here this morning, is that when you're going through a hard season, you want to get out, but I want to say find God's purpose in it. Have the
All right, and so now we're going to go to our edited version of that audio. Check this out.
And that's a word for you and me here this morning, is that when you're going through a hard season, you want to get out, but I want to say find God's purpose in it. Have the attitude of Paul that I can do all things.
See the difference there? All right, and so great audio is important. All right, so we're going to get into our GarageBand tutorial here, and we're really going to go over 5 or so basic tips that are going to help you get well on your way. Now, some common problems that people are going to find when they're trying to edit their audio. Number 1 is that they just didn't have a good audio recording. All they have is their camera, or maybe they used a smartphone, and that's all that they have to go off of. Now, we can still work with that, but if we can get some microphones, definitely try to save up for that and budget for it. What we use, and many of you know this if you've been following us for a while, we use the Rode Wireless Go 2 mics. All right, and these are awesome. There's 2 mic packs. I'm even using one right now, this very moment. Now, what's nice about these is that it's going to record directly onto the mic pack itself. Now, simultaneously, it's sending to the receiver, which is plugged into our soundboard. So our sound people, they have full control over what the in-house and live stream hears as far as my voice goes, or whoever's speaking. But then I have the raw audio file saved right onto the mic pack. And so if you can save up for something like this, you don't got to go buy the huge, fancy, crazy Sennheiser pack. I know those are cool. I know that's the flashy thing that's out there. But man, let me tell you, these things pack a punch, and they're not very expensive. So check them out. Common mistakes is that people just don't have something good to start with. Now, when we're editing, if it's really bad, we can try to make it a little better, but you got to understand, if the recording's bad, we can only do so much until we're starting to we're going to overcompensate is what's going to happen, and it's going to end up sounding worse, but in a different way. So really try to find ways to capture some good audio, whether that's getting a mic on your camera that's going to capture something good, getting a camera up close, whatever you got to do, or even a smartphone there. You can get some microphones, a lav mic that will plug right into your smartphone, and you can take a voice memo on your phone. That's free. All you got to do is spend $30 for a lav mic and you're ready to go, and you can get some good audio that way. So there's a free pro tip for you, ministry hack. We're going to open up GarageBand. Now, of course, when we're going into GarageBand, we're not going to have the audio file yet, so we're going to want to import that off of the mic pack. All right, so it's going to open up here to GarageBand. You're going to see that it's opening up to what I'm going to call my church sermon template. All right, and you can see up top, it's my Fervent Podcast Intro 2025. And this is what you need to do is you want to create a template for your church service. And so I'll show you what this is going to look like and sound like. What we have is an intro. So these first two tracks up here, Audio 1 and Tropicana, this is our intro. And let me play this for you.
Hey everybody, it's Nick Weiss, the lead pastor of the Fervent Church, and I want to thank you for tuning in to today's message where we hope you're challenged, encouraged, and strengthened in your walk with Jesus today. If you have any questions about following Jesus or what the Bible means, please send your emails to connect@fervent.church, and we would love to answer those questions for you. Now, for more information about our ministry, visit us online at fervent.church, and remember, it's all so that people may know Jesus.
So you can kind of see that there, right? That's an intro that we put into our podcast. So anywhere people are listening, Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music, they're going to hear this intro. Now, something that you're going to want to note, maybe you don't put an intro, maybe it's an outro, but something somewhere along the way, you're going to want to give people a next step. How do they connect with your church, your ministry, or maybe if this is a business, how do they connect with your business? What's your website? Where can they find more information, right? Giving them that next step. And so that's what we've done here is welcome to our podcast. This is what we're about. And if you want more information, visit our website. We hope you enjoy today's show. Boom. Music fades out there, and then we get into our podcast. Now, the music that we use, and I'll put the link for this in the description, check it out, upbeat.io. Upbeat.io, it is a where you can find different instrumentals, all types of different genres, something that fits your vibe. So maybe you hear what we have and you're like, hey, I like that. Well, you can go find that same exact song on Upbeat there. It's about $7 a month there. Again, use the link in the description. Sign up for it there, and you can see a whole library of songs that are in that type of genre of music, upbeat, you know, high energy, feels good, but you can find all kinds of other beats, low, chill, lo-fi, rap, rock, everything in between. It's pretty incredible. So check it out there, and you can start to have your intro there. Now, when you're doing the intro, you're going to want to use a good microphone. So you could use something like the Rode Wireless Go 2 pack there. If you're strapped on a budget, again, grab a lav mic, connect it to your smartphone, take a voice memo, and then export that into GarageBand, and you'll have that audio file up here. And you want to EQ it a bit, right? And I'm not going to focus too much on the EQing of this part because we're going to talk about it more in depth in just a second for our main audio. But you're going to want to EQ that a little bit just so it sounds nice, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The same principles will apply to any audio track that we put in there. And so then once we have that, we've created that, we put our music in there, and then you can even throw this in, right? A little fader in. And then what you're going to do is we're going to go grab this. All right, this is my template. So this is what I used last week, and this is last week's sermon. So I'm going to delete that, and then we're going to go find the new sermon, which is right here. We're going to drag it. We're going to drop it right in. All right, this takes a minute or two to import this into GarageBand, but once it's in there, we're ready to rock and roll, and it's only going to be a matter of minutes until we're done editing this, and then we're ready to export it and upload this to our podcast hosting site. All right, cool. So now we're ready to rock and roll. We got the audio file in here, and the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to trim it up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and find where I start that message, right? And so again, I've done this a few times, and I can tell some of these inflections and it's going to be right around. God has given wisdom and knowledge and joy. Solomon had it all. Today's message title is The Empty Pursuit of Pleasure. There we go. So we found it. Again, once you do this enough times, and if it's the same pastor or speaker all the time, or maybe you are the pastor, you're gonna get this flow, and you're gonna be able to look at these wavelengths, and you're just gonna know like, oh, this is right around where it is. And so you'll get used to it. It'll take you a while. First few times it'll take you some scrubbing back and forth, find that, but you'll get it down. All right, so then you can even expand this. All right, I'm using a MacBook Pro, so what I can do on the trackpad, just expand the fingers there on that track, and you can see we can expand it super wide, so you can get very precise. Today's message type. All right, so that's exactly where I want it. We're gonna go Command T. That's gonna cut that, and we're gonna delete the whole first part there. That's the announcements, opening prayer, all that stuff. Trim that off. We're gonna move this over. All right, we're gonna butt this right up against that. So there's our music fading out, and I'll give you. Today's message title is The Empty Pursuit of. There we go. And then what we want to do is we want to trim off the back side too. So second, and again, I want this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, there it is. So we're going to close with that closing prayer. I pray that they would do that today, and we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, and that's where we're going to close. And so this is the end of our podcast. We have everything we need here. Now, this is where we're going to go in and fine tune it. Now, if I wasn't explaining all these things, I would already been done by now because I have my template, right? I'm going to go in there. I just trim off the front end, the back end there, and then I'm going to export it, upload it to our site, and it's going to go live. But I want to show you how we can use GarageBand to make good professional sounding audio. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to add some EQ settings. Now for sake of this, I'm going to add a new track. All right, so I'm going to add this new track in here. This is going to be audio 4. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to drag this down. All right, so dragging this down here, now it is a fresh file, fresh start. There's no EQ settings, nothing set up here. This is what you would be experiencing right now if you started GarageBand on your own. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to start with a preset. All right, a preset here, and what we're going to go to, you'll notice down here I have this little interface, right? And if you don't have that and you can't see it, it's this little dial up here. You just click it, toggles it on, off, right? And over here, this is just our little library of different stuff too. We don't need that right now, but we're going to toggle this on. We're going to go to EQ. All right, make sure that our track's selected that we want to actually EQ, but we're going to go to EQ, and then right over here on the left side, we're going to go to settings. All right, so what we're going to do, this is voice, right? This is someone talking, and we're going to go to voice, and what we're going to choose is one of two things. All right, so if it's a male voice, we're going to choose a male vocal refresh. That's what we're going to start with. That's just kind of the baseline. If it's a female voice, female vocal refresh. All right, so here's ours. It's me speaking, male, so we're going to choose male vocal refresh, and you'll even notice on this screen here that some things will change as we go. So there, boom, we've put in a preset. All right, and this is just stuff that comes right installed in GarageBand that you can use. Great tools, right? But this is just a starting point. So if you do nothing else, at least do this. This will get you a little better audio than just uploading it and hoping for the best. This is going to help fine tune some things. And then what we want to do is we want to go look through this little EQ map here. And some things that we want to note is we want to cut the frequencies that are below 80 hertz. All right, so 80 hertz, right? We got 80 right here. And then we even got our low cut. And so you can even tell this is already cutting out those low tones, low sounds or frequencies, sorry. All right, so that's number one though. So just making sure we're cutting out the low end there because we want to we want to remove unwanted low rumble, right? Again, so if my voice has a little bit of that low rumbleness just naturally, and we want to kind of bring some of that and cut some of that out. Not only that, but maybe there's more deep sounds in the room. Maybe you got some deep reverb going on. We want to cut out some of that. All right. And then after that, we want to add a slight boost around 2,000 to 3,000 kilohertz in those frequencies. And the reason we're going to add these is for a little bit of clarity, a little bit of presence. We're not going to go overboard, but so we'll note here 2,000 to 3,000, and we have a little boost. This is from our preset, but we're just going to adjust it ever so slightly, and we're going to put it right about in the middle. 2,000 to 3,000, we'll call it 2,500, right? Just a small boost right there. Then we're going to go to, this is something you can consider, we're going to go to the 10 to 12,000 hertz there, and we're going to try and add a little bit of air or brightness. So we're going to boost that slightly as well. So 10 to 12,000, and you can see that our preset even boosted some of those automatically. But just see, we're at 12,000, so that's perfect. All right. So we're good to go there. Now the next part that we're going to do, this is not on the preset, but we're going to add a little high pass filter to try to reduce any room noise. So this is going to be more dependent on what your room sounds like and what your microphone's picking up. But we're going to add this guy. You're just going to click on it. You can see it appeared right over here. And we're going to add this. So we don't want to cut out all of the 12,000, but we're going to take it right up to that. So now what we've created on the low end and the high end, we've kind of cut off those frequencies that we don't want. That's the idea there. So we want to get rid of some of that room noise, but also some of that low rumble as well, making a cleaner audio for us. So those are the first things. If you do nothing else, do this. This is going to help you significantly, but we're not done yet. All right, so now we're going to go to controls. We can take that out of there. All right. And the next one we're going to add is compressor. All right, we want to add some compression to this. Now we don't want to go overboard with it, but we do want to use this compressor. A compressor is our friend if we use it right. We're going to go in here just to show you, right? It already says compressor, but we're going to hit this little menu, dynamics, compressor. It's going to pop up a screen. There it is. All right, so there's our screen. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to compressor by type towards the bottom. And these again are all included in GarageBand. I didn't buy anything extra to add to this. Compressor by type, and we're going to choose platinum analog tape. I like this one just because it works well. But platinum analog tape, you can play with some other compressors if you like. This is the one that I use, and this is the one that I'm going to talk about right now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the threshold. We want to set the threshold around negative 18 decibels to negative 24. So let's just take a look, right? This is kind of our default setting. It's at negative 12. Again, we want negative 18 to 24. So we can either use these guys and toggle that, or you can use this little slide over here. We're going to go to 20. All right, and so that's good. Again, you can play with that a little bit, fine tune it there. This is going to be a good base point. The next one we're going to go to is the ratio, right? The ratio we want between 2 to 1 and 4 to 1, somewhere in that window. And so right now the default is we got 1.6 to 1. Again, we want 2 to 1 to 4.1. We're just going to cut it in half. We're going to go 3.1 to 1. So that's right in that window where we want it to be for that ratio. And then we're going to go to the attack. We want 10 to 20 milliseconds, 10 to 20 milliseconds. So you can see this attack is pretty high for what we want. So we're going to lower that 10 to 20. We're going to go 15. We're just going to go right in the middle there. And then gain, we're going to turn this down a bit. We're just going to go with 0 gain. So now let's take a listen to what it sounds like now. Last week we kind of had his introductory sermon, if you will, where he kind of... There we go. Sorry, make sure this button's turned on. All right, that's the compressor. Kind of breaks it down. And again, it's a bit depressing, I'll admit, but just hang in there and just So now you can hear it's very loud. So we've added some boost to it. All right, and this is a good thing for now, but you'll also note this isn't where we want to end. It's still a little rough. So stick with me, we got more to go. The next thing that we're gonna add in here, we're gonna add a noise gate into the mix. And so going down back over here to our controls on the left-hand side, we're gonna add a new one. We're gonna go dynamics and we're gonna go noise gate. All right, and we can just keep it on the, well, let's go here. We'll go fast gate because we do want a fast attack on this. But the noise gate, what we want to is we want to set this just above the room noise level, and this is going to be different for everyone, and you might not know this either. There's ways to read, there's even apps you can download to kind of read the sound of the room. That'll give you a good idea what's the decibel level at there, but really what we can do is we can just listen to this.
We had unlimited resources, right? Not only was he wealthy, but the nation.
So you notice you put it to 0, it's not going to work, right? Because it's at 0 now, it's cutting out the actual audio we want to keep. All we want this noise gate to do is to eliminate too much background noise, all right? And really it's just kind of taking that top layer off just to make it a little more clean. So we're going to want to go
Stones in the days of Solomon, right? It's like it was like pennies today. Like what can you buy with a penny back then? Silver, like, you know, just.
And one way we can do this, so I know there's a little audience interaction here.
Anyways, and I was finding new music, and there's like no Justin Bieber. How many of you like some of his music? You know, how about just like a secret hand? Like, yeah, kind of. You know, don't want.
So you can hear the background noise. We can hear the audience. That's good. We don't want the noise gate turned up so much that you can't hear any audience engagement because it just makes it too flat. We want to hear laughs. We want to hear amens, clapping if they clap, things of that nature. You're going to make it more engaging for the listener. So you're going to want to play with that noise gate a little bit. Make sure it's turned on again. Last ones we're going to add in here, going back controls again over to the left-hand side, this blank slate here. We're going to add a limiter. So dynamics, limiter. All right, and when we go to this limiter, this is gonna help to prevent peaks from hitting the ceiling, right? So when it's going really high, so we're gonna put in a limiter. And so when we put this limiter in, we're gonna set the ceiling, or at least the gain here, to negative 0.3. All right, so now this is getting better. All right, so you're gonna wanna play with this. Again, each voice is gonna be a little bit different. Somewhere to start, negative 0.3. And then what you can also note is that when it's going, all right, what you can see here, we got all these different levels, right? So what we don't want on either of these, the audio master, or even up here, this is our master, we don't want this to be peaking into the red. When we hit the red, it's like that's when we get that clipping. So we wanna avoid that. So you can see we're getting pretty close to it. And then the last thing that we're gonna do is now we're gonna adjust the overall gain for this channel, right? So again, we can see that it's a little hot, a little too hot for what I want. And we can see as we're playing, as long as the analyzers clicked, you can see this real time. And all of these little mountain peaks that are getting over this line are what's pushing us into that yellow, into that red. So we're gonna tone this down, right? And as we bring this gain level down on the side, it's gonna bring our whole EQ just as it is, but it's gonna bring it down a notch.
Weird, it's a normal part of the human nature, but this just screams of we need something more.
All right, so now you can see we're in that green and a little bit of yellow. That's where we want to be. That's the sweet spot, right? If we're just only having green, no yellow, it's probably going to get a little too quiet at times. But again, that's why we're adding a compressor to help out. When it's too quiet, it brings it out a little more. Too loud brings it down, kind of keeps it in a nice normal range. So this is good, all right? So I'm liking what we have here. It's sounding much better. And then so always kind of listen through it, make sure everything's good to go. Going back through, make sure it's all buttoned up to where you want it to be. Right, I want this nice and so we can even see, right, boom, it's lined up, we're good to go. Don't have any unwanted audio files left behind out here, because if there's some odd track back here, it's going to export that with it, and then you're gonna forget about it, but then your audience is gonna listen and be like, what is this extra track, you know, or whatever it might be, something you meant to delete. So just always check that before you export. And then all we're gonna do from here is we're gonna go to exporting this. You're gonna go up to share, up at the top window, export song to disk. All right, and so this is again my template name, but I'm gonna name this actually the name of this podcast, and I name it the name of my sermon. So I know that this is it, and I always write in all caps podcast. Then when we're putting a file, where's it going to download to? That's the where. I always go to my downloads folder, so I know that it's right there. It's going to be the first one in my downloads folder, so I can upload that to our podcast hosting site. And then make sure the quality is where you want it. I always export in the highest quality, 256 kilobits per second. And I use the AAC because it's compatible with the iTunes. And I put that in my iTunes library for myself so that I can have a collection of my work that I've been working over a decade of. So that's just a little, you don't have to do that. You can choose any file type you like. Then we're going to hit export. And then this is going to take anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes, just depending on the length of your podcast. But overall, that is how we use GarageBand. Again, it's a free software. It's pretty easy to use. And if you follow these simple steps that I've shown you, you'll be off to a great start at leveling up your audio for your audio podcast, but then also for your video, which leads us to this next episode that we're going to have, the second part of this series, where I'm going to show you how to take the audio we've just created and sync it with our video, our 4K files, and create a video for our YouTube and our website. All right. So if this video was helpful, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned for the next one where we talk about how to sync it all together. We're going to talk about different camera angles and how to cut through those, and how to make a quality product for your audience that they're going to like and enjoy. All right. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Peace.